There you are.
There you go. It's much better,
yes,
Xander.
yes, definitely.
I should
And you
go.
are, and Will
Oh,
is
is yours sideways? I can turn mine. If I turn mine sideways,
Perfect.
is that better?
Oh, you're completely sideways.
Great, Kurt.
Okay. All right. Jesus Christ.
It's slimming. This
yeah. Well, it's so good to see you, Will, but Xander, I haven't spoken to in ages. So.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I can't believe it's like it's weird. When you move as far away from Los Angeles as you physically can and still stay in the United States, people feel like you've just abandoned them, and they say, "Well, and so much for you."
Now, have you found that the people that you were in touch with all the time in LA, you're not so in touch with them, or?
Yeah, because I'm not throwing parties anymore. I'm not throwing dinner parties and stuff. So they just like, boom.
Really?
No. Well, I kid on the level there. My closest friends I stay in touch with.
Right.
But even at weird intervals, that like it's as if this was harder when you're further away.
Yeah. Right. Huh.
It's just one of those things.
And did your agents tell you not to do it?
My agents, Kurt, I'll be honest, because they dropped me when I moved because I was no longer interested in doing TV series, like where I would commit to 6 or 7 years. And that's where they made the money, and that's where I was stranded away from my children while they were. And I had children too late in the game, Kurt. I don't have the back end deal that others who had kids reasonable time do. I got to put my time in now. So this was like a conspiracy on many fronts for my wife and myself to escape LA, to live on the Bay, out of the way of traffic and smog and other things.
And didn't you make a whole bunch of money for them from Walking Dead and stuff?
Well, yeah. Well, that's one of those other sort of touchy. You would think you'd make a lot of money on The Walking Dead, unless you.
Well, I know they have a cap on what they pay.
Yeah. And it's like a cap for a very short person. It's the cap is down here.
I know.
And then it doesn't expand. And then right when it's about to expand, they kill you off.
Yeah.
Right when you're about to start making it.
Well, I worry about getting killed on this show every episode. So.
As you should, having been a regular viewer of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, but how great 3 years in New York City. That's got to be like, that's the.
Well, I do. Yeah. I mean, I go back to LA when we're not, we're only making 10 a year. So it's not.
Yeah. It's not the way it used to be with.
It's not, you can't get rich, but you won't get poor.
Right. And you won't get isolated from your family for a ridiculous amount of time. Correct. And the thing is, when they own you, this is like sharing with the audience at large. When there's a lot about the business that is not family friendly, particularly because they will send you anywhere and if you sign away any amount of time, then they own you. And even if you're not working that weekend, well, we might do something with second unit.
Yes, exactly. It's very hard. Or like if you're the weather cover, which is where you're not being used this day, but if it rains, you are, so you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
these are complaints that
I sure hope no non-working actors are watching.
Yes, I know. I mean, this is the kind of thing I absolutely despise in other people. They're working, they're making a lot of money, and they're complaining. I'm not. Believe me, these are tiny complaints. We're just talking quality of life. We're grateful as hell.
We're parsing minutia, Lord.
Yes, I never asked for anything. I'm just grateful at my age, and I'm sure you are at your age.
Yeah,
to be working, it's almost impossible. So,
but isn't there a plethora of content now in a way that there wasn't when we were younger?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like 450 things shooting or something. I don't know what the number is.
I have to not be a very good actor to not be working right now.
Well,
right? I didn't say that.
Well, I've gone through periods of no work, and I can confirm that that's why. So.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the things that are out there, you can't really earn a living doing because,
No, that's
so
right.
you might as well do theater and have a direct contact with the audience. God, wasn't that play fun? Wasn't doing that play together fun, Kurt?
Oh, it
I was
really
just gonna
was.
say that's a perfect tie-in. It was the Grand Delusion,
Oh.
right?
Oh my God. And I have to say, Xander, and I mean this is not, believe me, I'm sort of a performer slash businessman in that I wasn't born an actor. I wasn't born an artist. Xander was born an artist, a Renaissance man. I've always been, and especially from this play, was extremely, and this is not bullshit at all, jealous of his innate talent that he even, your painting of me, he did a painting of me. I played Kaiser Wilhelm, and he did a painting of me, sort of an expressionist painting that is hanging in my office.
Which was hanging on the set in
it was in the set. It was on the set.
Oh wow!
And it's now in my office, and it's like, what? What? This is absurd. And then he's going to Maine, and he's building a little theater in his barn, I'll bet. And he's got a workspace, and he wants, it's sort of like a new age artist retreat. And
becoming a glass blower.
It's what? Am I right?
I'm becoming a glass blower.
Okay.
No. But it's funny that barn. We got the farm first. That was what we got that 8 years ago, and wild fluke how we ended up here. It's about an hour away from where we live now. The kids are in school here, and part of our conspiracy to get out of LA was to get the girls out before they turned into teenagers.
Absolutely.
And because Sarah was never in love with LA, she was, from the West, but she was working in New York when she got 24, and that's where we met. And she moved out because the show was there and I was there, and we got together. And then, but it was always in the back of her mind of like how to get out of LA and where do we live. And we worked for 3 years in Toronto, where right when our second child was born. And that was kind of perfect because she had a gig lined up. She was doing the Twilight franchise, and she got to travel away with the baby and come back. And I got to work at a great schedule. And we just fell in love with the East Coast again, coming back and having 4 seasons. And it's so much a part of the mythology when you're
My wife loves that too. My wife is here now because she loves the winter in New York.
Oh, great. I'm so glad she's able to be there with you. Yeah, I winter too. And so it's been, to me, it's like, I feel like I left at 22, I left New York and arrived in Los Angeles, and then 40, have you ever heard the great old, Groucho Marx apparently was the one that said, Los Angeles is the only place where you can leave when you're a kid. And next thing you know, you're 90 years old by the pool wondering what the hell happened.
Yes.
Because there's no way to mark time.
Right.
Something about the seasons that it just like being back in the seasons. I feel like I've returned to the kid I was at 22, and I'm still in love with. I love looking at snowfall, and I love looking at leaves turn, and I love just the feel in the air. And yeah, it's cold, and I'm ready. This mud season, to skip a little of that and come back to LA in April. Nice. So,
but LA every day is the same. Every day is this. Again, these are complaints that are going to piss people off. But
but they're legit. They're absolutely legitimate because it's not an obvious. It's a nuanced thing. The seasons are there, but they're very nuanced, and the sense of paradise is there, but underneath it, there's an insidious sort of sameness that can really make you feel like they're, like I say, you have no way to mark time, and there's something that nothing comes without friction, and there's something that comes out of just having something to struggle against a little bit, and I've really felt reawakened in a lot of ways just by being back east, being up here in Maine. And we're not just building a theater in that barn. I won't go into the long story about the farm, but it's a big old dairy barn, and it's going to be a sound stage. And the project I'm coming to work on in LA, I'm going to get tremendous insights in how to do the LEDs, the LED not LED, but the LED screen projections.
Oh,
And
because we did,
all that stuff.
we should bring up the other thing we did that you directed. That
Really?
was, and you shot it. We did this
Yeah, we
sort
shot
of
it.
improvisational theater piece that we worked on and then invited
1 week.
people. Hmm?
We rehearsed that. That was a very long week, but it was just 1 week, and
Yes.
that we got together,
Yeah.
made it up, and presented it in front of an audience and filmed it. And but it would have taken, and it's taken a lot more than 1 week for the editors, friends of mine.
I would think it's still not done, right?
Still not done.
Yeah.
But someday it will be, and to be really, I think the timing will be perfect.
I would love to. I want to see it.
Hey, could you just tell the story of, you said you weren't born an artist and everything, but can you tell Will and whoever's watching the story that I want to hear again of how it came out of one of the improvisations, then it worked, it was in the play, about that moment in 5th grade or something when
6th grade. No,
just
4th grade. My teacher was Mrs. K, and I was our family, we're not a military family, but my father worked for the Bank of America. And the Bank of America, when you were coming up, would every 3 years you would get transferred. And if you said no, you never got promoted again. So we just, every 3 years we moved. And I lived in Grapes of Wrath country most of my childhood, which is the San Joaquin Valley. And I was at a school in Paso Robles. It was my first day of school in 4th grade. And I was always very, very shy and insecure, especially coming into a new school. All the kids know each other. And I went to the bathroom before school started, and some kids were yelling in there. I didn't know them. I didn't yell. So I left. I go my first day at my 4th grade class. Mrs. K, my teacher, goes, "We have a new student, Kurt Fuller." She goes, "Kurt, would you come up here, please?" I'm like, "What the fuck is it? Excuse my language. What is this?" "Come up for what?" And she goes, "Kurt, were you yelling in the bathroom this morning?" My first day of school. Okay.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And at the time, because of all this stuff, is when I had a nervous tick where when I got nervous, I would go like this, just to sort of stretch my eyes. Hideous. I go like that. And so she said,
I can see you as a kid.
4th grade, let me just reframe it. First day of school. She goes, "Were you yelling in the bathroom?" And I went, "No." And she goes, "Don't roll your eyes at me," and slaps me across the face in front of the whole class. I go back, I don't say anything. I'm humiliated. I go home, I tell my parents. I think my mother comes, and whatever she did, she's never told me, but it was not pretty. And Mrs. K said that her son was alcoholic and her husband had left her and she was having all sorts of problems, which I don't care about to this day.
That has nothing to do with you.
Guess what? I had problems too. But as I entered the class, as I walked up to the door of the 4th grade, my room, I was petrified to go in because I'd been slapped in front of everybody the day before. And as I was there, I was thinking, how am I going to go in? What am I going to do? And I went, boom, inside. I went, "Hey, everybody." And I had transformed into this outgoing, everything's fine. "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Mr. Wonderful. I'm so comfortable with myself. Nothing happened yesterday." And it literally changed, not organically, but out of self-preservation, the way I interacted with that society. And it stayed with me, because then I was really tall and really skinny and I got picked on, whatever. But it was the way I handled myself. It was the way I survived, was by being what I was not. Extremely,
that's called acting.
That's called acting. Thank you. And it really affected it became part of me. But it was really,
you became an actor at that moment.
I became an actor, but it was added on you. You know,
yeah.
If I go to a party now and I don't know anybody, I stand in the corner. I'm not, hey, how you doing? Hi, hey. I am.
The next time you go to a party, Kurt, will you try that?
And just that's report the asshole back at the party, Xander. I don't do that. But that's the story.
What do you make of that, Will?
I think that's fantastic.
Well, you know, we do what we can.
But I think it's such a great thing to share with people that might be watching that never, you know, thought, oh my God, I could never. Like, I actually remember doing an interview because I was playing a chief of police, and I interviewed the chief of police in Los Angeles at the time. And he I can't remember his name, but what a cool guy. And he's telling me his stories, and it's like, oh yeah, I was on the cover with the Black Panthers in the 1960s. I said, you were, how, that sounds dangerous. And he said, well, yeah, because I mean, if they catch on, I mean, they catch on that I'm not, well, then they're gonna kill me. And the police, a lot of times the police, they didn't know I was undercover, so they might have killed me. And he's telling these stories, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, that the degree of acting that you would have to do in order to pass in that crowd with that kind of tension. I've seen some of the films that have sort of indicated. There was one thing that I saw that sort of told a story very much like his, but different. And just like one hiccup in your acting, you don't get another take.
No,
you don't get to live anymore.
Yes,
and those stakes are so high. And this guy says, "Yeah, but what you do, I couldn't do that. I shit myself." Like, what? We don't get killed. We get another take.
I don't act with a gun to my head. You know, I mean,
I know, but so I mean that people think sometimes that this is like it's hard and there's a lot of pressure on you, and you got to perform in front of people, you know, and all that. But it's not. Well, I mean, that would be a whole other conversation when acting is actually life and death, and how many times, I don't know about you, but a lot of the characters I played get killed.
Oh yes. You mean the paychecks stop? Yes.
You know, well, they get killed, not just the paychecks going, but they always save your death scene for the last day you're shooting. And it took me years to realize that wasn't just a coincidence.
No.
Because there's a dangerous stunt involved in your demise invariably.
Absolutely.
And there isn't the same kind of attention on it necessarily that there would be on, you know, the star of the movie and the big.
Because if you die, they've got the shot.
They got it. You're in the camp.
They don't need you anymore.
And that's a wrap, Bunzer.
Okay. Absolutely.
So
yeah,
I mean,
no, it's true.
There are serious dangers.
Yeah, there are some things.
And our willingness to please, because that's kind of characteristic of a lot of actors that, you know, maybe that aren't just superstars, that are just like trying to stay in the game. Like that, I think that augments our natural tendency to want to please others.
Yep.
Absolutely. We know it's a competitive field, and we're very fortunate to be working in it.
It's a competitive field, and we're not the only ones who can do it.
Yeah, you know? And we're not the only ones who want to do it, that look like, you know.
And we're not the only, you know, and there's so many good people who aren't working at all, and they're just as good, if not better. I mean, it's true.
I know, I made that crack earlier. I wasn't serious, and I feel bad for those people.
Yeah, I know.
We got to make up for it.
You have to be a real loser if you're not working. Well, that was you, Xander. That wasn't me. My God, we've insulted just about everybody in 10 minutes. I mean, honestly, there isn't an insulting rock we haven't overturned. This is horrible. This is everything you're not supposed to do.
I know.
And Will hasn't. He's just been sitting there listening. He hasn't even made us do this.
No, I know.
He hasn't led us to this. We've been doing it all on our own.
Like you guys have both talked to me in the past. You know that I don't have to do anything. You guys are going to get yourself in trouble that you need to get into.
Yeah, no, it's for some reason there's a, sometimes I just feel like there's a whole a sea of frogs that are just waiting to leap out of my mouth. And maybe you finally reach the age where you could, apropos the very thing, we're always trying to please everybody. I was obviously kidding my fellow brethren of actors, and because I know, believe me, we've all gone without work. And we had to believe in our heart of hearts it wasn't because we weren't good actors. It was because, it's a game of chance and the numbers, and it's random, and when suddenly you're on a roll and when you're not. And, yeah.
Well, I've always said that when you're on a roll, there is nothing you can do that will blow the job for you. It doesn't matter what you do, you're on a roll. When you're not on a roll, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how, you're not going to get the part. You're not going to get it. And I never understood why. Some of my best auditions have been jobs I didn't get.
I suddenly remembered something that's too inappropriate to say, so I'm going to move on.
Well, that hasn't stopped you yet.
Apropos that, how that relates to another aspect of life, that a comedy writer one time said, it wasn't my inappropriate thought. It was just remembering his, and he was actually in the show, Ron Zimmerman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He referred to it in a way that I'll have to tell you later.
Damn.
And it's when you have that certain smell about you that seems that you're in the thrust of things in life, and then others want to be amongst that. But it's when you haven't been, and that's cut off, and you no longer have that je ne sais quoi. It's like I remember. This is something I may have talked to Will about at one point. I know some interviews have asked me, did you have anything when you felt the odds were so oppressively against you, and when you had nerves in the beginning? I've always been curious to talk to you if you had some mental sort of it's just a channel that you switched to in order to get that artificially, to get that aura about you. And I distilled it down to a term, calculated nonchalance, because something that would take away the animal stink of desperation.
Yes.
Which
desperation will kill you in show business.
Bang, dead. You're dead.
Yeah.
So
that's all they need to see. You're not going to get the part because they're desperate.
Yeah, they're desperate.
They don't want somebody more desperate than them,
and they're repulsed by your desperation.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the calculated nonchalance was something that was designed to change one's body's chemistry so that one put others at ease with the thought, you know what, I understand you guys are under pressure. You got to get this part cast. There's a ticking clock. It's a lot of money. You're going to be held on the line, and you're going to be responsible if you don't get this thing taken care of. So you'd be doing yourselves and everyone else a good. You'd be doing yourselves a favor if you just cut the waste of time and just go with this guy, because
correct. You go have lunch.
Yeah,
that's right.
I am this guy.
I was friends with Meg Ryan when she was at her America's sweetheartedness.
Yeah, and watching Wild Side just last night.
Oh my God! Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
and that's where I met her. We did this show years ago that should not even be mentioned, but called Wild Side, and that was right before she got Top Gun and all that stuff. And she said to me, what I do before I go in an audition, I'm nervous, but I decide I don't like any of these people. I go in and I just feel disdain for them. I just want to do my thing and leave. And I don't do one thing to curry favor, nothing. And I thought, but doesn't your disdain show? I mean, that's not so good either. But it certainly worked for her for quite a long time.
It offsets that which they've just seen a dozen in a row of, in the way of like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I love this. What a great plant that is over here.
I know. Oh, I love the script. I love it.
I love this script.
When I first came, one of my first auditions, there was an older actor, and they had a hat on, and they called him in, and as the door opened, this was the first thing he said: "Hat on, hat off, whichever way you want it." And I thought, I am never gonna be that guy, because that
Oh
was
my
pathetic.
God.
Even I knew then. Hat on, hat off. I mean, I thought,
That's
okay.
so funny, because that's two things come up for me. Is like I refer to when I just got to the point. Part of leaving LA is also suddenly there's like a new wave of insecurity among everybody out there, that they wanted to see every actor read every part, even if you'd done a million fucking things before,
Yes.
and you'd proved what you could do in a variety of different characters, and they were young, and somehow either they hadn't seen those things, or they hadn't taken 2 minutes out of their day to look at a little clip of those things, and they wanted you to memorize 12 pages of dialogue, read the script a couple of times, because that's what you do in order to
think about it for hours.
Yeah, hours and hours and hours, and work on it, memorize and get it all down, and then drive over and then come in with like the hat and the cane.
And as you get older, it gets to be, this is something that an adult doesn't do.
You just don't do that. Yeah,
You just don't do it.
It's
You
the
just
law
don't
of
jump through those
diminishing
hoops.
returns, because invariably you're just the insurance policy on somebody who has a little bit of self-respect and self-esteem that wouldn't deign to come in and read for the thing. And
go ahead.
No, you.
Well, it's just most of the time I find, I've always been, years they go, they love it when you say no. They love it when you say no. So I have, gone through. I don't read so much anymore, to be honest. But then I don't get offered much either. But when I have said, no, I won't read, 99% of the time I don't get the job.
Yeah.
When I say offer only, look at my reel. There's stuff on my reel that's better than anything I'm going to do in my living room on camera for you, which is the way it is now. Yeah. But I never get it. It's sort of like, I guess.
And chances are, if you'd gone to the trouble, you not only wouldn't have gotten it, you'd have gone down a notch or two in their eyes, because you were willing to go to that trouble.
I agree. I just figure I'm just planting seeds for the next time I might be right for something they're doing, and I'm not going to read. So
you've got to keep your stock up, because it is the law of diminishing returns, because a lot of times they at this level, they're going to go with somebody who is some kind of they want to get some kind of shiny object in there of a name value, and that's what they're going to go for, because that makes their investors bless the project.
And they can get an older, used to be movie star to do it for the same amount of money that we do it for, because there aren't that many jobs for people our age.
And that's what they're banking on, and you're just there in case.
So why should I go in and read?
Yeah. And some people
I'm not going to get it anyway.
This is what I do. I'm going to get a glass of water over here. Right.
I've never seen anybody less prepared for a Zoom interview than Xander. Look at him. I have water right next to me, Xander, in anticipation of being thirsty.
I'm trying to get my Zoom invite, Paul.
I sent you the invite. I swear to God.
Will, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, he only wanted to ask you questions. He didn't want to invite me. This has been very
sort of in the weeds character actor hanging on to the upper middle class rung of the ladder talk.
And I am loving it. But
okay,
I should ask a question. This is one for both of you. Who was the first actor that you ever worked with that made you think, that's how I want to treat other actors?
Have you worked with one of those?
I did work with one of those, and I don't think this was everybody's experience, that it was mine. I worked with John Ritter on the show Hooperman years and years ago, and he couldn't have been more collaborative and kinder and more like just another actor on the show. Instead of these stars of these crappy shows that act like, they're untouchable and you're in their way, and there's some sort of mythology of royalty in their heads because they're number one on this sad little call sheet, and John Ritter was just like completely three-dimensional, wonderful. We were equals, and I loved it. So that was mine.
Yeah, I think I think early on, especially for a sea of shows that happened after that, the guys that were on MASH were all freaking benches. Alan Alda, of course, but then Harry Morgan, you know, he played such a gruff character.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know because my scene was with him, and for me, I had to play a character that I had to find out that I'm not going to see again in the course of the scene, that it wasn't just temporary blindness, and that it was something that I drank as a Marine there, and it had something in it that made me lose my eyesight, and you know, and I think in this scene I say, so am I ever going to see again? And a little pause, and it's with Harry Morgan, and I say, you can tell me I'm a Marine, I can take it, and he goes, maybe, kid. And I go, maybe. And then I have to cry on cue. And I, you know, it was one of those things where it was sparsely written. And it reminded me of a play I'd just done in New York where I had to cry on cue. And it was beautifully written by this incredible Southern novelist. And it very rarely did I have to rely on technique. It just would happen.
Wow.
And this immediately tapped into that same river of emotion that was just flowing, and it was
already there.
His presence, but the director was this hotshot that wanted to set this up and tie this relatively short vignette into a sequence of other vignettes with a fancy camera move for his reel, right? So he could get movies or something. And oblivious to the fact that, wait, you want an actor to cry on cue in the scene, have it be real?
Yeah.
Boom, like bang, no waiting around, just like bang. And the first, in this complicated dolly shot that included these other scenes, I didn't know from holding back, because it was like there was an audience, and I was straight from the theater. And so the first 4 rehearsal of the camera, it just was happening. It happened, and I got a round of applause from the crew.
Yeah,
so that's how beautiful that crew was. It just tells you
incredibly
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then that kind of continued when they started rolling and doing actual shots. You know, the director never says, hey, you just mark it right now, because we got to work out, this is a tricky camera move and I don't want to fuck you up, so save it. None of that. Just like, well, I don't know what's happening. It's like this, all I've done is the Incredible Mommy Dearest and the Incredible Hulk. This is my third. And so I don't know from this shit. And
of course.
And they keep doing take after take, and I got, so like 4 takes in a row, first 3, 4, maybe 5. I'm crying, it's still happening, but I'm like, I got to somehow get rid of it before they set up and go again. And Harry Morgan just leans in, he goes, you're doing great, kid. It's their fuck up, not yours. Just keep doing what you're doing, kid. It's fucking great. And like you know, of course they didn't get one until take 8. And, you know, young as I was, 8 times in a row was still a bit much.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So I was already had tears in my eyes at the beginning of the scene, and nothing. I had to sort of rely on technique.
Yeah.
And of course, that's still airing 45 years later or 40 years later, whatever the hell it is.
God, yes.
But
I wish I could
Harry
see
Morgan will always be in my heart as a guy that just, and you know, some of the really great guys that were really, you know, the lifers are the ones that got it, and they never got jaded. And maybe they never were the big marquee, but they were there.
And they were sort of tough guys, you know. They were sort of emotionally tough. They were you know, they had all their battle scars, you know.
Yeah.
Although again, it's not a battle. What we're doing is very easy.
Yeah.
Playing. It's not a war, but you know, emotionally, I think the real job of an actor, besides, especially when you're coming up, preparing auditions and turning them into real performances, which is really the work, is not going insane, not hating yourself, not letting failure beat you, and not letting no's define you. It's a psychic, it's an emotional minefield. That's what it is. And you have to step on the mine and just keep walking, because otherwise it's not gonna happen. You're gonna quit.
And there are those guys, like, when Will asked that question, the different people came to my mind, like, Ed Harris is a guy who's somebody that you want to be. I did a couple of things with him when I was around 30, and we're friends still, and he left a real impression on me, because he was so much like a team captain, and or if you'd been in the military, he was your officer, and he was going to have your back, and he was going to have the movies back, and he was going to have all the, and we were in Nicaragua while a war was going on.
Wow.
When we were shooting the first thing we did together. And so it really was like that. And there was a guy, a kid, Billy McNamara. Do you know Billy McNamara?
Yeah.
William McNamara? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great actor. And he's an acting teacher. And it was the first time, he was a kid, and it was the first time he'd ever been out of the country. And wow, was he out of the country. And he was playing Ed's younger brother. And some of us got amoebic dysentery while we're down there, and that's not a pretty thing. And really, you're just exploding. Sorry, Billy, if I'm outing you on
Jesus,
this, but
I'm about to have lunch, so.
Well, you'll lose it if I tell you any of them anymore. Just imagine a rocking motion in a very small bathroom from your toilet.
Thank you.
and then a delirium, and Billy thought he was dying. He was just tripping. He just was convinced, and he was going to die, and his parents were never going to see him again. He was, it's like he was, but heat oppressed and having visions. And I'll just never forget, because some of us didn't know what to do, but Ed just knew how to come in and deal. And he just took care of him, and it was like, he's that kind of guy. And I also remember, like, when I stood Apollo 13 with Ed, like he'd have these little things, and that were great things to learn as an actor, like never let him make you tell a lie. Right? And then, like, I remember one time when he took a prop that wasn't on Walker. They'd sewn a beautiful lace wig for him to look more like William Walker in the 1850s. Nobody knows who he was. So he knew that, so he didn't give a shit. And in the middle of the first sort of speech he had to give to the people, some hair person came up and just wanted to tweak the wig a little bit, and he went, no, grabs it off his head, throws it on the ground, and jumps on it 5 times. Fuck that wig. And he just kicked it out. And so it's the first shot, we're gonna go without the wig.
Nice.
Yeah, right. And there was one time some fancy watch prop that had been made for him, and something just kept fucking up, and it was gonna fuck. And he just took the watch and he threw it against the wall, and it was already established. It's like, and then I was standing there, and goes, never let it make you tell a lie. And I go, yeah, but if I did that, they would fucking fire me and blackball me. I would never.
Exactly.
Ever.
I will say, I played golf with him once. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just, we just got hooked up together.
Yeah.
Because I play a lot of golf. And I was like, oh my God, Ed Harris, oh shit, Ed Harris. And this guy, when he hit a bad shot, he would go like this. He'd go, and I thought his head was going to explode. And I felt the whole round like I had to take care of him. I didn't, but I felt the need to go, oh, it wasn't so bad. Yeah, you're still in bounds. You're over. Go, it's okay. Don't worry. It's okay. But he is intense, that guy.
Oh,
he is intense, but he was really nice. I thought, oh shit, this guy, he's gonna kick my ass before we finish 18 holes. I'm just, I'm gonna be collateral damage here if he doesn't play well. But it wasn't like that at all. He was just very intense.
He's intense, but then even when he's like, he's the most casual, fun, relaxed guy and everything else, drinking a beer, but but that you can just feel it because I think he's so fit and everything else. And so you just feel the intensity is just brewing under.
Yeah, I know.
You can see why he's worked. But did you see him in that thing recently, the Maggie Gyllenhaal?
I haven't seen that yet. No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm working, Xander. I don't really have time. I'm very, very busy. No, I have almost every day off. Actually,
he's so Ed. He's so Ed in that. It's like,
is he?
So himself. It's just so. It looks, dresses like everything. It's just like watching him there. But anyway, I want to just give. Do you have like another number one on the call sheet that you just thought was exemplar in taking care of the actors? Because I got to say, Andrew Lincoln on The Walking Dead is I've never seen anything like it. Just somebody who was just tuned into everybody and helped the production. He threw down 150% and 100-degree high humidity in Atlanta and outside of, but anybody knew, like a kid that just had a line or something like that. He came over, had his arm around him, and it's like in the days before COVID, and just welcomed him in. And
how great!
He just understood that we're all pulling on the same end of the rope instead of so many of these delusional megalomaniacal number ones that you referred to before.
More than half
royalty realm in their head, and they think it's me against the world, and then I'll win. Damn it!
Trying to
have it all
for me. They're trying to betray me. And I got to tell you something. And again, Will, this is not complaining. This is, I understand.
But this is telling secrets.
Yes, you're telling this. I'm saying the quiet part out loud. And but when you're working, and I get it, I have a trailer. It's air conditioned. If I want something, I ask for it. It comes to me. I get it. But if you're number one and you're working every day, okay, and you're working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, by Thursday, you're exhausted. You're in Atlanta, the humidity is 90%. You're sweating, you're hot, you're tired. It puts you in a very bad mood. You get short-tempered, because people are constantly asking, we need you here, we need you there, we need you this. You want to sit down for a second? No, we need you this. We got to wire you, we got to change the battery of this, we got to do that. For a guy like Andrew Lincoln or anybody to keep it together and not go, come on, leave me alone, give me 5 seconds. Give me a minute.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and I couldn't do it. I really couldn't, because you're tired, you're worn down, you're not sleeping a lot, and your legs hurt. You've been on your feet for 13 hours.
Yeah, I get cranky.
Yeah, I do too, and it's sad. I
try not to.
I don't deserve to get cranky. People won't let me get. People will just say, "Well, good, all right, let's bring in Stephen Tobolowsky." I mean, it's like, that's okay. I get it.
Oh, he's on my next episode. So.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Well, tell him I said hello. And okay. Well, you could put him in right here, and
we can
split the screen. But it's true. So for somebody who can do that, that is because you're a genuinely good, together, kind person. You can't fake it because you get too cranky.
Yeah. No, and it's so that's why there's so many that err on the other side.
Yes.
Because they can, and there's a weird thing about fame that I think you have to be really grounded in a really strong psychological, solid place from your upbringing to weather fame and not have it.
Absolutely.
Not have it. I tell a story sometimes. It dawned on me at a certain point, because you work with enough of these people, and it seems to reiterate infantilism on a certain level. Because when you're a baby, if you shit, they fucking clean that thing up.
Yep.
They wipe it, make it smell good. Yep. Nice. Put a nice new one on.
And every day, if you're an asshole, you'll go.
Chair, and you see something you don't like, pick it up, throw it down.
Yep.
Put it back up.
Go, oh, that's okay. That's okay. No problem. That's fine. You go, oh, I'm sorry. I'm probably no. So you think, oh, I guess I'm okay, because everybody is always telling you, no worries.
But think when you're a baby, you had kids, there's that point when, they will, first of all, they will die if you don't do all that shit for them. If you don't pat them on the back, it's going to drive you crazy. If you don't pat them on the back every time they cry and let them know and burp them or find out what the problem is and solve it for them. And then make them happy. And, that's just the way it works. So they come in, we all come into the world just thinking everything is going to just dance around us and be the whirling dervish of our needs being fulfilled.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to get off our ass. We can be in a stroller going down the sidewalk and people are going to go, oh. But then you get knocked off that throne and you fall and you hit hard, and there's another sibling and there's other kids in school and they're all deluded. They think they're the center of the universe. Don't they know that? Oh, and then some great injustice is tucked into people's hearts, but in the back of the old lizard brain, all it takes is a little bit of fame. And suddenly
bring it all back.
Are scurrying to put everything back on top, and they're cleaning up all your messes, and they're patting you on the back. And when you go down the street, you don't have to do anything, and people are going to go.
Yep.
And
it's a one-to-one correlation with infantilism. It's
an old brain thing going. I always knew I was special.
It's interesting. I was doing a movie with a big star, and we were in Toronto, and we were in the owner's box at a Toronto Blue Jays game because I was with him. And it said there, signs everywhere, no smoking, no smoking, no smoking. No one is smoking. He lights up a cigarette. And I say to him, who I will not name, it says you're not supposed to smoke in here. He goes, Kurt, I haven't heard the word no in 25 years. And that's, I don't know how we got off on this, but it really feels good to talk about. I always, in stuff like this, I always try and be the big person and the nice. I have never been so petty in my entire life in an interview as I am right now. And I blame you, Xander.
I am so glad I'm bringing out the petty.
It's horrible.
I think of it as
obsess on, but since you bring it up, and since we bring it up, these are things that happen. It's just the truth.
Yeah, and the people that treat other people nicely, and it's just like for me, like we met before for years at auditions, and we were always nice to each other.
Yes, and
we remember, like I can remember, especially whenever it was like reading for a Psycho, there'd be the guys that'd be like.
I know.
I go you out, and then there's the guys that go, oh, dude, man, good luck with that. Good luck in there. Have fun in there because they seem like nice people, and
right.
I think you'd be great for this. Like sometimes, and then the next one you go, you know what? This is yours. You're fucking. This is you all over it. And
there is enough work to go around. I have always believed I don't have to. Other people don't have to fail. I just have to. There's enough work to go around for people who can do it. It used to be that way.
There's a great, somebody was saying in a completely different context in relationship to something we're undertaking here, who has a background in banking, and he said, my parents weren't the perfect parents by any means, and my father was a banker, but he taught me something that I think about in relation to almost everything, which is win-win. Somebody doesn't have to lose for you to win.
Correct.
We can all win. And that sort of ties into that idea of we're all pulling on the same end of the rope as human beings.
Yep.
The more we pull together, the more fun it is, and the better it turns out for everybody.
And the more bad, negative feelings you have, all it does is eat at you. It just eats you up, It eats me up when I have these. I have a 2x4 list with people that are on that list that I want to hit with the 2x4, but it's getting smaller and smaller because it only hurt me. It only hurts me to have those feelings all the time.
Yeah.
That's very basic sort of Zen.
Literally, we're at the age where I think we can, be honest and say, I don't think it's petty grievance. It's just, it's having a bit of fun in an interview with Will, who we've had interviews with before.
Yes.
We can tell, like we can make a confession about the things that everybody's also so very cautious not to step on.
Yes,
Until
Yeah.
they become a big star, and then they go out of their way to step on people's toes.
Yeah. And just like you said, I think that sort of being the center of the world when you're young, I have a feeling that we're all sort of subconsciously, we all want to get back to that. And I think that when you actually have the sort of by proxy, that ability, it's very attractive fruit. You want to pick it and you want to eat it, because we all miss it. We all miss that when we were.
I think it's that part of the brain, and there's a sort of innate animal, the reptilian nostalgia for that period in our evolution when everything was taken care of for us.
Yeah.
But because we don't have to do anything, and yet, it's one of the things that I think ego is something that lies in wait, and it's like a dragon you have to keep caged. Because the minute you eat too much, the minute it becomes too powerful, it can destroy things. And
does your wife? Don't you have? I bet you do have a wife who will say to you, Xander, "Come on now, you're not." Bring it down. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a dick. Because my wife says that to me on an hourly basis.
Might as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
As
by the way,
we do that.
Talking too much, Will. Will, don't interrupt so much.
Who's that guy again? Will,
by the way, tell me when it's noon, because I actually have a doctor's appointment.
I am watching. I'm keeping an eye out.
Okay.
I do actually one that I think you guys, I know you both work with him, so I'm sure you both have some story or other. Working with Harold Ramis.
Oh, well, you did, and God rest his soul. But I'll go first, and then you go. I was selling real estate. I've sold real estate in LA for 9 years, and I'm going to start crying if and I don't want to actually, but it will show my vulnerable side if I do.
Take your glasses off. I want to see the real tears.
And I was doing theater all the time, and just 9 years. I was still doing it. I loved it. I actually loved doing theater more than anything else I've ever done. And it was my happiest time, actually, doing theater and selling real estate. And I did a play called Kvetch that Stephen Berkoff wrote and directed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was the lead in it, and it was, for Equity Waiver Theater, a phenomenon in LA. I mean, Johnny Carson came to see it. Jack Nicholson came to see it. And Harold Ramis's ex-wife came to see it and said, "You've got to go see this show." And he came to see the show and recommended me to Ivan Reitman for Ghostbusters 2. And I went in and read. The part was written out, and Harold wrote a part for me. The mayor's assistant. And he goes, "Kurt should do this," and he pushed for me to do it. And 6 months later, I was out of real estate and a full-time actor. And it was
never as happy again. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. I was never happy again. And Harold and I remained friends until I couldn't see him anymore. He was in Chicago, and he was not doing well. And I'm still to this day friends with his wife, Erica. And
she's great, isn't she?
She's great. And he, to me, Harold was an angel on this earth. He really was. He was delightful, super smart, and very real and very human. And I loved him. And I really still feel the tragedy of his passing. So that's my Harold Ramis story.
Yeah, no, I can't touch that. I got so lucky that I got to work with him on his last movie. And
that was his last movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh. And the year one, but everything you said, I just didn't have as long a period of time to have that, but I felt like I had a friend for life when I became friends with him.
And you did.
Yeah, he was a Buddhist, and he just had a Buddha-like vibe about him. I remember that when I arrived on set in Shreveport, Louisiana, outside of Shreveport, in this place where they had built the realm of Sodom and Gomorrah, and there were camels and there were monkeys, and there were just the crazy, ruins brought back to life, and incredible art department of that. And Jack Black and Michael Cera were doing a scene, and I was watching, and I'm in the monitor, and he's, "Hi, you're here, good, I'm so glad you're here." And I'm watching it. Yeah, you won't recognize any of this dialogue. They're improvised. I'm not going to use any of this, but and he said, "But it's endorphins are good for comedy." And instead of raining on their parade, he knew how to let people just sort of be and be happy and be in their
He did.
In their happy place, and
he was very laid back, really.
Yeah. And so very. Oh my God, so sweet. And it's so great that he took you. I think I was jealous. I heard about Kvetch. I was a fan of Berkoff, who I'd seen do something, and
he's a wild man.
A friend of mine did his Ebby Rose Smith. I don't know if you knew Ebby did Metamorphosis.
Oh no,
yeah, and that he had directed, and I just remember while I was doing shitty TV in the 80s, Kvetch was what I wanted to be doing, and I trained from New York all the way back and everything, and I wasn't, and I was like, oh no, it's going to make me too not jealous, but just it's going to make me crazy.
No, I understand.
And I'm not doing that, and I'm
certain things I can't.
That was you, and I didn't see it.
Oh well, believe me, I'll do it for you anytime.
Do it for me, because did it have stylized physicality?
Oh, we froze. We would freeze, and one person would speak their inner life as the other people were frozen. Everybody would freeze, and I'd go, "I fucking hate my mother-in-law. And I would just go up to her and just go crazy. But she never, and then they would come back to life and stuff.
Yeah.
Just typical Berkoff, but it ran.
You know what I saw recently, which I'd never seen because I was snotty and I thought Ryan O'Neal was cheesy, and so I never saw Barry Lyndon.
Oh yeah.
And my wife and I watched that the other night. Over the holiday, we just saw one masterpiece after the next on Criterion on the big screen, and we're just like, this is what life is about. This level of filmmaking.
I know. Barry Lyndon is not a great movie, but I mean, I don't like Ryan O'Neal in it at all.
It's hard. It was hard, but I forgave.
It's a beautiful movie.
The masterfulness of everything else.
Yes.
But Steven Berkoff, a young Steven Berkoff, do you remember him in that?
No, I didn't know he was in it.
The movie it ages well. Everything about it aged well. Even Ryan O'Neal's performance has aged well.
Really?
I could not have watched it back then, and this time it was like, well, I can imagine that's sort of an Irishish accent. I'll go with that. And he had the hair, and look, and Marissa Berenson, so other.
Oh my gosh!
But just every frame of it, it's film.
Oh my God! It's a masterpiece of filmmaking. It really is.
Do you miss, Will, as a cinephile? Do you miss or feel the difference between digital and celluloid?
Absolutely. No, I just miss the theater going experience, period.
Well, yeah, but the theater.
Yes, I understand what you mean. The distinction.
But going to the theater, I thought you meant in the theater, but yeah, the theater going experience, but the sumptuousness of 35 millimeter.
Yeah, no, I miss that as well. We've got one art house theater here in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, and they still do screenings here and there.
But I mean, the difference between film and digital.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They still do the occasional 35 millimeter prints there at this art house theater.
I feel the difference. I feel there's a saturation and an aliveness in it, and there's something that feels so a little bit just cold to me. It's not an original observation. Do you feel it, Kurt, or you don't care?
Oh, I do care. My wife and I last week went to see the remastered Godfather movie.
Oh yeah.
In a theater. And the first thing I said when we came out was, I said, see, you may not, she's younger than me. My wife is 19. No, he's not, but she is a little younger than me. And I said, you know, there's the difference between 35 millimeter and digital. Look at how incredible the lighting, the background, the fabric of the shot, the dimensions, the subtlety. You can't do that with high def. That's only with film. And it was a really, I mean, I recommend that everybody see that movie anyway, but it was a real market, like a slap in the face of what we don't have anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't have that quality of filmmaking in general.
No. I don't even know if we have people who can light it anymore.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, the great cinematographer, I felt like some part of me was like, early on, like I wanted to work on big movies and smaller roles more than small movies and bigger roles, just because I wanted to work with those great cinematographers.
Sure. Yeah.
And watch how they lit, and just watching something just sort of come to life, and then you walk into that atmosphere, and the contrast between, when you think about like 80s TV shows and the lighting, you'd come in and like, clang, you sort of clang your head.
And a lot of those things were shot on video, you know, I mean, it was just, oh my God, it was like, oh, terrible.
But then you do a movie with one of these guys DPing, and it was just like, I like being in.
And the second you walk on into that lighting and everything, whatever you thought you were going to do or thought about, it can change in a second, because all of a sudden you're really there with the way they light it. You're really there, and it can change everything.
Did you guys ever hear? Did you? Robert, who was you know, in Quentin Tarantino's movie, The Foxy Brown. Now this is my see now moment.
Oh, Forster.
Forster. Did you ever work with him, Kurt?
I did. I worked in the same movie as him and met him and talked to him, and he gave me, as a gift, he gave everybody a letter opener, a stainless steel letter opener.
He called it a gadget. He said, "Have I gotten you a gadget yet?" Yeah, hang on a sec.
Yeah, I guess that was his. But what a nice man, Jesus! Never wore makeup. Said no makeup, no.
I interviewed him a few years ago, back when they released Jackie Brown on Blu-ray for the first time, and he was so nice, so humble, just happy to be working.
Hey, Will, did he tell you the story of his first acting job?
Probably, although it's been a while since I did that interview. So
he tells a pretty great story about working with Marlon Brando, because that was the first job, and how unpleasant Marlon Brando could be to everybody.
Really?
Yeah, like, you know, how he would deliberately just fuck with the producers just because he could.
Yeah.
But you know, and Forster said, I wouldn't trade anything I have for what he had, because you know what, it's better to just be the win-win thing, you know. And but he talked about, like, you know, he was such a good-looking guy, and John Huston had cast him in this thing with Elizabeth Taylor and Marlon Brando. I forget the name of the general, something.
Portia's Men's Eyes or something? No.
Well, yeah, I forget, but it was not a great movie, but it was a big deal to be opposite, to be the young male lead in the movie with Marlon Brando and Elizabeth Taylor at the height of their fame, and John Huston directing, and he's panicking because in the beginning, well, Mr. Huston told me he's going to give me these acting classes, and so I'm chasing them to. I'm out of Albany, and I'm coming up to. Then I hear he's in L.A., so I go to L.A. and I go, Mr. Huston, you were gonna give me those acting classes? And he'd turn to me and say, "Not yet, Bobby,
Oh my God.
And then get him down in New York, and he'd be there. Mr. Houston, you said you were going to give me these acting classes. I feel like he goes, not yet, Bobby, not yet. And they cut to they're in Italy, they're on set, and it's the day he's going to start working, and he still hasn't gotten his acting classes. And Marlon Brando's there, it's Elizabeth Taylor's in her trailer, and he's like freaking out, sweating bullets, and Mr. Hughes, he goes, now, Bobby. Come here. And they get this huge shot set up, and he just has him look through the lens and look through the camera. Well, you want to? We call this the viewfinder. We want to look in there for a second, Bobby. Tell me what you see. Okay, Mr. Houston, I see there's some little pup tents down the way. There's some little campfires and smoke coming up, and then and he's describing some horses. And, okay, Bobby. Now, do you see that black frame around all of that in there? Through there, you can see this. Oh yeah, Mr. Houston. I see that frame there. Yeah. He goes, so, Bobby, you just have to ask yourself, what needs to be there? And that's a long way to come back around to what you were talking about. Whatever you thought coming into when you get into one of those atmospheres with a master, where they've set it all up. This is the frame. This is a visual medium. This, just let the atmosphere tell you what to do.
Correct.
Let you fill that screen and make that not you tell the story in that frame. And a lot of times actors aren't, without a theater background, without like a Berkoff,
right.
There's some people like that train you to see this as a visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
They're inside their head with their acting classes, and they're this is my line, and this is how I'm going to deliver my line, and they forget that this is a visual medium, and it's an atmospheric medium, and that it's how do I fill that? How do I let that space fill?
Most of the time, I'm trying to get out of the way of my lines. Honestly, just let him just get out of the way and let the whole thing talk, not just me.
Yeah.
On that note, it's 12, by the way.
I know, and I do have a doctor.
That's a good one, Kurt. It's quotable. That's quotable.
Thank you. I love you, Xander. I really like
Kurt.
you, Will.
And I'm going to be back and forth in LA until August. You can be back there at some point.
Yeah, I'm coming back in May. So,
good.
Call me.
I'll see you in May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will.
Thanks, Will.
Always a
Thank
pleasure.
you very much. And this has actually been great. I may just title it "Will Listens to Two Guys Talk," and that's fine.
And or two guys.
A couple of questions.
Two guys committing career suicide.
Either way.
No, it's too late for that. I think
It is. They can't do anything to us now.
We're in the clear now. Just
What can they
keep
do to
running.
us that hasn't already been done? All right, boys. I'll see
Look
you
at the
later.
doctors.
Thanks,
Love
Dad.
you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.